All right, it's JPEG to RAW photo review show number 42. And tonight, AD, we're going to do something we haven't done in the last few shows, and that is we're going to cram the entire month of the review into one show.
Oh, no.
And by the way, you're still sharing your screen with me.
We can do it. It's going to be good. Oh, yeah.
Yep. So tonight we're going to be doing October.
Yeah, I am.
Yep.
This isn't going to screw you up, I hope.
No, it shouldn't.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Yep. So tonight we're going to be doing October as we try and catch up. And I try and fix something here. There we go. So if you have not entered, it's too late, obviously, to enter October. Too late to do November. We're going to do November in one show, too. We have, in the past, done these over 2, sometimes even 3 shows. So if you submitted a photo in October and we didn't do it, I tried to pick at least one from each person, but somebody may have gotten skipped. If not, it's probably because we've done lots of years in the past, and maybe we'll do them next month. All right. So if you want to, how do we do that? If you want to enter, the way to enter is there's 2 ways, really. Go over to our website, which is jpegtoraw.com/contest. This month, we're doing the December contest, which is the best of 2018. So the rules are a little different. Any photo you submitted during 2018, during one of the monthly contests, any photo you submitted, you can resubmit that photo and re-edit it. If you listen to some of AD's advice and ideas in the past, on a past show, and you go, oh, and I know at least one person who's done that already. I think it was Christina. If I said that, if I mentioned the wrong name, sorry. But I think it was Christina who went in and re-edited a photo based on some feedback, and she has resubmitted it. You can do that. So any photo you submitted, you can resubmit those. So if you did one every month, that would be 11 photos, and you can do one additional photo, or one photo if you've never entered before, that you consider your best one that you took during 2018. That is the December contest you have. I think we're going to give like a few days after December to enter it, because that's a busy time for everybody. So you can enter through our website in the beginners group or the regulars group right here at jpegtoraw.com/contest. Or if you scroll down just a little bit, there's links to our Facebook groups. And in the Facebook groups, it's super easy. Whoops, not the Facebook group. The album will be at the top of the page. You can enter right there. There's the regulars group. And then the beginners group, that's not them either. What am I doing? There we go. You can enter right there too. So the beginners group or the regulars group, either one, you can enter right there through the website, but you only got a few more weeks. It'll be the end of 2018 before we know it. Well, we got like 2 weeks left. So
yeah,
time is quickly running out.
I've got to pull my top 8 from 2000 together, and I do that every year, and I haven't even started. I haven't started yet.
Well, you've been a little distracted, probably.
I've been building things, Mike, in the background.
You have.
You think all I do is play Fallout, but I don't. I actually build Fallout to building things in the background. This is a new Nuka-Cola lamp that I designed, and this is almost done now. I've got to put the wash coating stuff on, so making these for Christmas gifts for people I know. So they're going to probably be late, but I'm making them. So I've been busy.
Yeah, and those things look so much better after you've done work on them, because when they first come out of the man.
Let's show what they look like when they first come out.
For some reason I'm getting a lot of pausing.
My video's stopping, like pausing. That's how it looks when it comes off the printer. Is like very it's really bright. You can't really see it's washed out. This stuff all fits together, and then there are lights that go inside and caps that go on top. But I have to, like, this is painted, and so I go through and do the bright colors first, and then we do washes over the top to give it that realism look, Yeah,
I
don't know why it's pausing, man.
It's getting a little better now, so we'll hang in there and see. All right. First up tonight is this image from Nancy Smith, who's out there in chat tonight.
Nice.
Thanks, Nancy. And Nancy says, let me get the photo up so I can read what Nancy says. When seasonal images were encouraged, I thought of fall colors on the trees, like we all would. However, the trees have not changed to their magnificent beauty here yet. So I decided to go with Halloween and off to my favorite cemetery we went, which that's awesome. So Nancy heard the theme and decided she went and did something special just to take this shot. That's
Right.
awesome.
Yeah.
This is my granddaughter, and the idea I had in my head came through. The image was a bit soft, straight out of camera, and I like it. I even enhanced it a bit. And then makeup by Kristen Anderson.
Cool. Yeah. And so, yeah, and we have a photo from her coming up, which I think is cool. The two of them went out together. And I'm sorry, ladies, that I did not invite you to Michigan. Didn't even know that you were from Michigan. So now that I know, we are going back actually and taking some friends with us to Charlevoix or Charlevoix or however you like to say it next year, and we're going to bring some people. So we'll let you guys know, and maybe we'll all get together, and it'll be a lot of fun because it's not too far from where you're at. I love this photo, and I like this. I do like it soft. When I saw it, it has a vintage kind of feel to it. Very mysterious. It kind of reminds me of like 70s horror films. It's got that kind of The Omen kind of look to it, a little soft in the filmy kind of focus thing going on. The colors, the matte look is my favorite in portraits. I love doing matte look photos. I just think they're really awesome. And, the makeup and the look, she's got magnificent eyes, so that they go really well with the autumn colors. I think so. I think it's an excellent job. This is one of those photos, Mike. We talk about this once in a while, and I think Nancy should be submitting to the regular pool with stuff like this. I think this is great. So
yeah, I like the softness too.
Yeah, and she did the great composition. She's been watching the shows and taking cues, and she's got her with the. She's got a subject. She said the cemetery where she went, and she's including that in the photo. So yeah, there's not too much here that I would that I would knock on. If one thing that I would mention to you, Nancy, that always watch out for is little specks of fuzz or light or anything like that will draw your eye. There's a couple of little dots that I probably would have just cloned out, but this is just like really down there with a fine-tooth comb at this point in time. So you have really sprouted and done great portraits here as of late. So it's been awesome to see these, and this is perfect. So
and great job with the makeup artist here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who my understanding is the mother, and I don't know, she put it out there in chat, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. The name of the girl is awesome. It fits with the theme or the timing. Her name is Autumn.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, isn't that perfect?
Yeah, it is. And I can't imagine someone from Michigan naming their daughter Autumn after I spent like the most incredible autumn I've ever had in my life in Michigan this last year. So, that seems apropos to me.
All right. Well, thank you, Nancy, again for always submitting. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right. Up next is this image from William Alexander. And unfortunately, A.D. William gave us no information. I even double-checked it tonight to say, did I just forget to copy and paste it when the way I share it with A.D.? But nope, he gave us nothing. So I don't have any additional information to give you on this one.
Yeah, this is a good, I'd call this a good Instagram photo. I mean, it's, I like the silhouetted trees. I've done my fair share of shots like this and then HDR'd them so you could see all of the light on the trees and bark and everything. But I kind of like the silhouette look, the way the lines are crisscrossing. It's nice graduated color. Again, another photo. This is more contrasty, obviously. It's the complete opposite end from Nancy's photo. But both photos exhibit a really well put together tonal palette, which is something that I look for in photos, is good complementing colors or nice shades. A lot of times when we're going for a serene scene, shades work better than contrasting colors. If we're going for an architecture or a very brutal sort of composition, then we may use color in that respect, or if it's a different setting. But I think in an autumn photo like this, autumn represents, no better way to say it, but it represents dying. Mm-hmm. It represents the end of life. And the trees aren't really, their trees are really going to sleep.
Right.
But
for winter.
Right. But we equate winter as the season of death. I mean, it is times when animals have it the hardest outside. It's when plants have it the hardest outside. Winters really do have changed the way people and animals and everything else have evolved. And so the autumn is usually a serene look to it. So these nice smooth tonal palettes work really well. So I think that's great. But yeah, William, I'd love to see you submit some more. And if you really want to get the most out of this show, as anybody else here will tell you, tell us a little bit about why you pressed the shutter button at this point, why you processed your photo this way. If you give me those two small bits of information, I can really get inside your head a little bit more and try to see if you met your goal where you're going. I mean, I look at the photo. I think it looks great. I don't see anything here that I would do much different from this. But it's kind of a and here's a top tip. You guys want to try something out? It's a little different. I know shooting fall colors is fun, but take a fall color photo and turn it into a black and white. Sometimes it can be extremely powerful. So that's just another thing to try with your photos as well out there. But I really like this shot. If it's me taking the shot, I probably would have framed up I would have liked to seen maybe a vertical crop with this, more of a portrait crop, because the trees are long and I'd like to see those lines run longer through the frame. In this square crop, and that would also kind of chopped out that dead tree that's on the left, which is really dark and kind of really bold. If you look in your peripheral vision away from this photo, that tree will stay in your peripheral vision, and you can pick that out of the whole photo. That means it's a very strong element in the image. So if your focus was there, that's fine. And this is where we need your help, William. When you submit a photo, tell me, say, yeah, I really like that tree on the side, so I wanted to get it in the shot. Okay, you win. That's perfect, right?
Yeah.
But if you didn't, I'm going to give you those other ideas about trying a portrait crop here, or recomposing so maybe that tree wasn't so prominent in there. But I like it. I think
like
it's
the
cool.
colors,
Yeah, the colors are great, and the silhouette. I love the silhouette. Autumn photos like this with the bark is just black. It's just really, really stark and awesome looking. So,
all right,
nice job.
Thanks, William. And up next, oops, I've knocked it off the screen. Up next is this. I think this may be his first time submitting, and he submitted through the website. Is Robert Krawz, Krawz. Yep. And Robert says, "Here's my beloved daughter exploring the neighboring beautiful forest in the Polish golden autumn. Just wanted to point out, I'm having trouble reading this. I just wanted to point out the last moments of warm colors of the autumn sunset." And
a little waxing poetic there a little bit, I think.
Yep. And I don't know I know people are crazy. There's a lot of controversy about train tracks. We're not going to talk about train tracks. We don't know anything about these train tracks here. So I'm
going to say that's like unused train tracks.
We're going to go with that assumption. He didn't say anything about it, so we don't know.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get that. That's his business.
Yes.
That's the way I look at it. Hey, somebody from Poland. That's totally awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
Welcome. Yeah, welcome, Robert, to the fray. Take nothing that we say serious, but take away anything that you want from what we say to help your creative spirit kind of with your photos. As Mike and I will always say, this is, you're explaining the scene to us. You kind of narrated the scene to us, but you didn't tell me why you framed it this way. And say a little bit like, I love the look that she had. in amazement of the leaves falling out of the trees when the wind blows. Boom, you nailed it. We can talk about how your goal there went, maybe some things that you could do to draw the focus a little bit more inwards. It looks like you gave it a little bit of a vignette. And there's, I'm not sure what kind of lens you used here, but it looks a lot like the Velvia lens, which I've used before for images like this that have that nice kind of tunneled bokeh. You can kind of see a roundness to the bokeh, which really draws you into that center. So you captured a beautiful moment, I think. Don't you, Mike? Just nice timing here.
Oh, I love the reaction on the little girl's face. I mean, she's obviously just loving that.
Yeah.
So I like that. If I change a few things, maybe a little bit tighter crop at the bottom, get rid of that one leaf almost in the middle that's a little bit brighter.
Yep. Yeah, there's some distractions in the image that I would definitely, I would have cloned out some of the stuff that's on the front of her jacket, cleaned that up a little bit. Kids are going to be kids, but, a nice, non-distracting, nice, there. And a couple of those bright leaves right in the foreground, right? They're kind of detracting or pulling your eye back this way a little bit. I like the motion in the leaves.
Yeah.
Good job there of stopping her. In having her nice and still, but still giving the leaves a little bit of motion. I think you're getting some of that too from that bokeh on the curved part of the lens. So I think it's a great job. Like the colors a little blown out, like on her face from the sun, but I think it, you said there a little bit, you wanted to point out the last moments of the warm colors. So I think that shows a little warmth on her face is okay. It's not blown out to the point, I don't think that I would say that you're losing detail. We can see the curvature, and she's definitely identifiable. I
think it's a little bright, but not blown out. I don't think it's blown out. I think he could have pulled it back if he needed to.
Right, and that might have been the thing too. Like, be careful that you're not like overexposing and then using a vignette to pull your the vignette to pull your histogram back. Make sure that before you apply that vignette, that you make sure your exposures and your highlights and everything are your histogram looks really nice, and then you can put your vignette on, because at that point you're not going to be studying your histogram. At that point it's going to pull the lows up. You're going to see that rise in the histogram, and a lot of times people will try to compensate for that after the fact. So just make sure you have that order right, so that you don't get any blown out areas.
That's a good point, to not use vignetting to move your histogram into where you need to go.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of people put it in there and they're like, oh, I want to put a vignette in there. Sometimes we think of it and we're just like, bam, I got to put it in there, or I'm going to forget it or something.
Yeah.
It just make sure that at that point, when you start doing things like vignettes, or you start blurring the edges of your photos or anything like that, you should be done with setting your tones and setting your exposure and your highlights and your shadows, and make sure everything's balanced the way that you want it at that point. Then you can start messing with contrast and all of that other kind of stuff. I usually try to get that. I try to rein everything in at the beginning, and then I'm like, okay, now we've got what I would call my digital negative at that point, and now I can start really messing it up. So that's when I really start messing with the sliders, to see what I can do. So, but yeah, it's great shot, and I hope to see more, Robert. We would love to see more, and please tell us again. I'll reiterate, because I say this all the time, and people are starting to get it finally. Tell us why you pressed the shutter button and why you processed the photo the way you did. If I have just those two pieces of information, will be awesome. So
thanks, Robert, for submitting. You may be the first one from Poland to submit. I don't know. First one that I can remember. Thank you, Robert. Up next, and she is in chat, so this is awesome, is this image from Jan.
Woohoo!
From Jan. There we go.
Sorry if you keep hearing a knocking noise. I put my watch on and I keep banging it on my desk. So I'm going to take it off again. My Google Fit's going to be mad that I'm just going to set it on the desk. There.
You got to charge it every now and then too.
You won't hear that anymore. Okay. So sorry.
All right. Jan says, at a pumpkin event, a rather cloudy day, I had to take a few pictures before the rain. Was trying something new, as in using the back button focus. Awesome. I love back button focus.
Yes.
I thought the image would look good in black and white, but it did not have the tools to do that in a way that I thought looked proper. And if you ever wonder why am I having trouble reading this stuff, it's because it's on a monitor and the text is really small. It's not necessarily the person who's writing, it's me reading the small text.
Yep.
This was a crop because the original background was too distracting with leafy trees. May have too much negative space on the left side. I don't think so. To do otherwise would have put the subject in the center, which I didn't think was the best. Thought of AD when I took this shot, and he said he wanted something Halloween, like have trouble getting the image. Oh, Halloween-like. And then she talks about the uploading process.
Cool.
And if you're ever having trouble with the uploading process, don't feel free to email me, and I'll help you, in any way I can. Okay.
Well, Jack Skellington is one of my kind of favorite characters from Halloween. I think he's kind of cool. He always looks really cool as a scarecrow. And I loved seeing him in decorations. This looks like it might have been like a ceramic or something. That's pretty cool. Jan, I would suggest that maybe don't crop to an odd cropping size and just take more pictures and try different angles and things to see what you get. I think this photo is awesome. I love the water droplets on him. I think that looks cool. The background, you and I, you're part of my Patreon group, so you and I should have a quick discussion about the tools that you do have, because I can make some suggestions for you, and then maybe we can help you with some training on those tools, so that if you did want to do something like clone out a leaf area or something like that, I can easily show you how to do that. My suggestion would have probably been to vignette an image like this and really get deep into the post-processing. Halloween's awesome because in Halloween you can take freaky looking photos, you can process them weirdly, and it's perfect. You can really let your freak flag fly, if I can say that. Freak flag fly. I can't say it. Forget it. But you can really experiment with your processing and have fun with it. So I can see where you'd probably think that was distracting, and you know we talk about background noise. So it looks like there's a white house or something in the background on one side. I can definitely understand why you would crop this. But I would love to talk to you at some point in time, and then we can talk a little bit about how we can go about teaching you some new tools or getting you some new tools. There's some free stuff out there that's great. But yeah, and we might even be able to work a deal. I have my hands in a lot of places, so I might be able to get you some software to play with that would be like, from a company that I know, and something we might talk about a little later. So let's keep that on the table. So, and keep shooting, keep submitting. But yeah, I think this is great. Black and white probably wouldn't have worked simply because of the division in the image anyway, but that's a good step to try. We always try that. If the colors and things aren't balanced in the image, try black and white, because that just removes that issue. And sometimes the tones look better, like the grayscale looks better, will change your whole perspective on the image and the way that it's cropped. But I would be very careful with odd crop sizes. And the only reason why I say that is that I'm pretty experienced with making large panoramas, and a lot of times they don't sell unless I print them and frame them and do everything myself, because people see them and they're like,
how do I put that in a frame?
How do I display this? How do I do it? And so I know it sounds weird. We're here talking about the show and we're critiquing your photo, and we're like, you could sell this. And it's true. You're going to have people come along. You're a photographer. People do buy images and want to put them on their wall, in their office, on their desk, at home, wherever. And it catches a lot of photographers by surprise. And, if you do crop an image because of that, you may have, now this is more closer to traditional, I think, but I'm not sure if it's 8x10 or what. Maybe Jan would roll in and let us know on that. But I'm always careful with my crops to try to stay traditional with them. And nowadays, if you just go to a frame store, you can kind of see what they offer, like Michael's or Hobby Lobby or one of those places, usually you can see that. I mean, I think they offer 13 by 19 frames now because you can get 13 by 19 photo paper for at home, and then you can get your camera takes that perspective when you take that shot is 13 by 19. So just keep that in mind. Cropping would be usually odd cropping is always like my last resort of changing a photo. So I would love to. This is a great example. I love that she submitted this image and said that, because don't be afraid to submit it uncropped, Jen, and just say there. Tell me like
how you would have cropped it. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. Give us the whole shoot and shebang, and that's going to help you see through our eyes a little bit, and we'll kind of connect with you a little bit better too. So awesome submission. And again, perfect subject matter, hit it right on the head. So I love it that people did did.
They listened to you. They listened to you.
Yay.
All right. Thanks, awesome. Jan. Thanks for entering again, Jan.
Yes.
All right. Last one for beginners group. This is all in the beginners group. Last one in the beginners group is this one by Kristen Lee Anderson.
Yay. The makeup lady.
The makeup lady. And she is on Facebook. She's listening on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So Kristen says, Happy Halloween.
Yay.
Since AD did not invite Nancy and I to Charlottes, whatever that town is, with him. We live in Flint. Apparently those two towns are really close to each other.
They're across the mitten, but they're fairly close.
Since you didn't invite them, we dressed my daughter up and took some home Halloween shots. First time playing with smoke bombs. That's awesome.
Cool.
And that was challenging, but fun. Yeah, that smoke bomb looks I remember smoke bombs as a kid. They're just incredibly fun. And not going to blow your hand off.
Yeah, they seem like they are, but they don't. They're really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. I think it's cool. They brought props. Krista, I'm sure you brought a small fire extinguisher with you too as well, right?
With all those leaves around.
Please, folks, if you go out and you play with burning steel wool, if you anything that has to do with fire at all, make sure you take the proper equipment with you. It's very important and the reason why I say that is because other people may stop and see you doing something and they get ideas. They want to try it too. They'll be the people who won't take something out because they didn't see someone else have a fire extinguisher available in case something bad happens. These things can spit, little things of little embers out and stuff, and you're in dry leaves. So I'm sure you guys did that, but
she says, yeah.
Yeah, I see a lot of folks, and we lost a national treasure, I think in 2016, 1 year after I visited out in California. There's a famous shipwrecked boat that's out there, and some guys, photographers that I actually knew from Instagram. They weren't friends of mine, but I knew them, took steel wool out, and they caught this famous boat that had always been there, caught it on fire, and it's gone now. And they didn't, they got railed on Instagram, and I think they even got a visit from the police. And this boat was on land that people just basically said, you can go there and shoot. Mm-hmm. And we'll keep it up and let the public come on our land and see this boat and take pictures of it. And it's a very famous boat. If we have time afterwards, I'll show it to you guys. But always be careful when you're dealing with this kind of stuff. I love this. I love that she brought props and set this all up and did the makeup, and it's excellent. And in this image, both images have that vintage feel and that awesome like 70s horror film look to them, and I really dig that. I'm a child of that era. I grew up watching The Evil Dead and The Omen and all of that kind of stuff, and I was scared to death of them when I was a kid. I watch them now and I laugh. Yeah. I'm like, wow, why was I scared of that? It's silly. But I used to love all those kind of movies, so when I see this kind of stuff, I'll give you a really cool tip for smoke bombs and a cauldron. Get yourself a small computer fan. They're usually 12 volts, and really, really simple to find them anywhere, pretty much online, or you can get them at Best Buy or whatever. They're not expensive. They're under $10, and hook it up to a little 9-volt battery. And if you put it in that cauldron facing the side of the cauldron so that it's blowing around inside the cauldron.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
The smoke will come out in like a vortex, and it would have. I mean, I love the way it looks here, and it's fine. But it's always fun to play with that kind of stuff and see what you can get. You can also spray the ground around her with water, and when the smoke comes out, it'll actually cling to the ground. And stay low. So as the smoke starts to dwindle, it'll start to lay low. And you can even have a smoke. This is like a movie trick. They'll spray down an area with water, and they'll put a smoke bomb off to the side. And as it blows across the grass, it'll lay right low to the grass and give this really eerie look as well. So you can have a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, that's some great tips.
And I'm just like super excited to see them go to this length to submit a photo and do this. It's just, that's awesome. This is why I do this show with you, Mike, is just so to inspire and to push people out of the box and to try things like this is very cool. So and I'm looking forward. I will definitely let you guys know when I'm in Michigan, because I would love to go out on the town with you guys and do a photo walk or whatever, and just hang out and have a good time and meet everybody. So I will definitely let you know next time I'm in Michigan, which is next autumn. I will be there for sure.
Somehow I got to get in the mix with all this. This is too much fun that I'm going to miss.
Hey, you know where I live, and you know where Tim lives, and it's already been put out there that everybody needs to get together.
Need to do it at some point. So Kristen says, AD, you're so smart. And Nancy out in chat says, oh, we're going to do that experiment come spring. Yes. So a couple of great ideas there. And that was the end of the submissions for the beginners group. Those are beginners. Those are great photos.
I know.
Great photos in a beginners group. So if you're a beginner and you're going, wow, all these guys are so much better than me. You know, we're all at different stages. Don't be intimidated by that. You submit and we'll help you along, or mainly AD will help you along with this stuff. Don't be intimidated by other photographers. You do you.
Yes.
All right. So now into the regulars group. And first up in the regulars group is this image by Christina Binge.
Yep.
Getting her up here.
I love her quote on it.
She says, a young pumpkin holder holding a young pumpkin. Yes. Yep. Taking an outing.
She threw you a curveball. She spelled the word a young pumpkin.
Yeah, a young pumpkin. Pumpkin. Taken on an outing to a local orchard, my friend's daughter was holding a pumpkin, and she had just pulled out of a large wooden bin. I love the dainty little hands on such a small little pumpkin.
Yeah, this is an excellent shot. I like the processing here too. This very soft, and the focus is right on those fingertips holding the pumpkin. Yeah, this is and this is one of those shots too. It's totally up to you. I might have shot it with a little bit more depth to it, but I like the softness and the innocence of it too, which that shallow depth of field really brings that out. So I think it's an excellent photo. And Christina, she has an eye for palette. Her colors are always like really like in there. They're in the zone. So keep that up for sure, Christina. I really like this shot, and it fits the theme again perfectly. What do you think, Mike?
I like it too, and I think that maybe the reason if she went much further with the depth of field, maybe got the stem into the depth. The background might have been a little not as soft. I like the background being so soft.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so I like that, and I love the tiny little hands on that. If there's anything I would have said is probably the silver, whatever that little bar is going to cross.
Looks like a wooden rail, like a old rustic rail or something. Yeah.
So she might have already toned it down. I don't know. There's not a whole lot you can do there, but that to me, that's the only. That's the one thing I would have fixed if possible. If you could have taken it from somewhere else, but I love the little hands on the little bitty.
Yeah, it kind of works as a leading line for me. Kind of brings me into the image and then up to the hands. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. Yeah, if simplify, we talked about this in a lot of images about simplifying background and simplifying the overall composition of the image. So the story here is the hands and the pumpkin. Then move it over just a little bit so you don't have that background in there. And if you want to, Christina, you can crop this to see what it would feel like without that in there. You know, you could crop this up to a square crop with just the hands and the pumpkin, and see if it's more powerful to you that way. And if it is, then we don't say like it's a bad image.
Mhm.
I think that's people do too much of that. I had not a quarrel, but an internet discussion today about somebody who was stating on the internet that some people don't. I'm a person who likes to tell it like it is, and some people can't handle that. And then I was like, well, you also got to see the other side of that. You might say it like it is, but not with consideration of what they were trying to do. So you're saying it like it is nothing more than a talking head critique. It's not helping the situation. And I think as humans, we need to do more of what are they trying to achieve? And if we're truly trying to help, let's give real solutions. And that's why we do this show the way that we do it, and why we ask for your information and why you took the photo and that sort of stuff, is because I don't think that, I can tell you all day long how I'd shoot it, but that's me. And you don't need 1,000 me's running around. You want to have each individual person be their own flower, so to speak. And so I don't want a bunch of the same flowers. It'd be a boring world if, it was every flower was a red rose. Yeah, it would be pretty for about the first 10 minutes, but then, everywhere you went was the same flower. That would be ridiculous. So I think that, you got to play around with it a little bit and try those different things and see what works for you. And if this works for her, then yeah, it's a beautiful image. I like the film graininess to it too. It's got a kind of a grainy look to it, and I really like that. So
good job.
I'm a vintage buff. So
good job, Christina. All right, up next is this image from Ebenezer.
Hey,
is a consistent submitter every month. Thank you, Ebenezer. And Ebenezer, the one thing we say each month is you don't give us a whole lot of information. So we don't have a lot of information this time. It just says precious pearls.
He's right. They are.
He is. I will say this, Ebenezer, and he does a good job of putting his watermarks in a frame around it, so it's not actually in the image. Although that sometimes can be distracting too. This time there's really no watermark at all. So the way he did it is different than he's done in the past. He does have the white border around it, but no big watermark that's going on there.
And I think it's a cultural thing with the borders and whatnot. And then I'm fine with that if that's he does have a watermark up at the top in the upper right and in the lower right of the image, but they're very light, and he's toned it down quite a bit compared to.
I don't even see them.
Yeah. He's toned it down quite a bit from what he's done on other photos, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
If you're trying to protect your work, I totally understand that. You have to do something. So my critique on this image with no background, first of all, I love everything that he submits because he gives me a different window into the world other than what I see in my world in America. I see certain things. I love seeing a worldview and seeing different views from different countries and experiencing different colors and what people, different cultures have different color schemes that really stand out in their art and whatnot. And I really like to see that. My critique of this image probably would just be the subject matter. What we need from you sometime, Ebenezer, if you can, is just what was your main thing here. If it was the pearls, I think that's cool, but I would have kind of played around with a few different arrangements. I think this photo's got kind of two things, like the basket in the back there, and the pearls, and everything is really leaning heavily to the left side of the image, whereas that's multiple subjects in the left side of the image, right? We've got the basket and the pearls out of focus and the pearls in focus, and it's a necklace and it's a pair of earrings. It looks like. So you've got kind of a lot of things going on there. And then you have negative space. And so that's not a cool balance. We usually want to have a subject in negative space and not have two subjects in negative space, because then it's 2 against 1 and negative space kind of wins. And we don't want that. We want a real focus. So I would have played around a little bit with the way maybe brought the basket a little bit closer and had it a little bit more in focus so it was separated from the background of the colors, because I love the color depth, and I even like the flower arrangements in the background on that fabric. And I like the way it's bokeh enough that it's not totally distracting me because it's dark. But you notice how the basket is very bright and in the center, and it kind of steals away from the, like, I think what his main subject was, which is the earring that's up front, right, is like the one that's in the most in focus. So yeah, and I agree. Gary's always got a good eye for this stuff. It's got. I love the colors. Color's great. I just think that maybe the arrangement could. Product photography, even though this is, it's an art form all in itself. I really respect, and the amount of touch-up work that goes into product photography is ridiculous. I mean, and I've done some product shots where I have used blowers and I've put it in a hyperbolic chamber, it feels like, to clean something off. And man, you take a picture of it and it's shooting, there's dust all over. Yeah, you're like, where did that all come from? Right? And then you got to go in and clone everything out. And that happens on every product photo that you ever have seen, have extensive retouching work. So keep it up, Ebenezer. Send us more information, man. I'd love to know what's inside your head and what you're going for, a little bit more about it. I could be maybe more help to you, but I love the images, so keep them coming.
All right, and this next image I think is going to be right up your alley, AD.
Why is that, Mike?
Because don't you like this kind of photography?
I do.
All right, this next image is from Jose. There we go.
Matutina.
Yeah,
I know he gets you every time on that.
He does. I wasn't going to say his last name, just Jose. And he says, Belmont, Nevada is one of the mining towns that retain so much of the past. This GMC truck was taken with his Sony A7R2 and a something lens, SEL 1635, whatever lens. He goes into some of his settings.
You always give me, whenever it comes to Sony, he's like, whatever lens, I don't care, whatever. It's the most popular lens that people put on their Sony cameras. Really? This is it right here, the 16-35 Zeiss glass lens from them. So it's a nice little compact lens. It's great for landscape shooting. It's not light. People are always like, oh, get a small camera because it's light. Those cameras aren't any lighter than anything else I've ever had. So that's a lie. Don't believe anybody who says they're getting it because it's light. They just
I had that same discussion. Not that I want to get distracted with this, but I was on a technology show Thursday, and I was talking about the debate between mirrorless and whatever, and that it's not, you're not going to have that much a lighter system at least right now, by going from a DSLR to a mirrorless, because all that glass is going to be heavy. Glass is glass, and good glass is heavy. That's all there is to it. If it's a light lens, it's probably generally, unless it's like a 51.2 or something where it's a single piece of glass in there, and they still can be pretty heavy. But if it's going to be so my advice, Jose, is back the truck up. That's my advice. And the reason I say that is because in your description, you're like mining towns, you mention all of that kind of stuff. I want to see the truck not gulping the frame with a mining town kind of like doing that photo bomb in the background. And I think that would have solved the problem that I'm having with trees bisecting the frame and sky bisecting the frame. That's a huge no. Don't do that, because you got heavy contrast. You got white clouds on one side, you got dark trees on the other. And when we do HDR, it's going to exemplify that quite a bit. It's not balancing it out. So just be careful of that. I would have backed up. You're still going to get that truck it's still going to be bold. It's still going to be there. Give me more of that background and balance your horizon out a little bit. I think you would have had a much nicer photo. But right now, I love the truck. I love the colors. I love everything about it. You would want to frame this up where it was the truck against the trees, maybe, or a background, or gotten lower and hidden the buildings behind the truck. I've played with all sorts of, you get quite dirty out there.
because you're on the ground, you're up in the air, you're all over the place to try to get. When I was in Bannock, Montana, shooting a ghost town, there was an all beautiful old truck there, and right behind it, they were regrading a dry creek bed because they had a washout there and literally lost half the town. There was all this construction equipment right behind this truck, and I'm like, oh, these beautiful hills, beautiful sky. It was amazing. It's freaking Montana. It looked beautiful, and a yellow giant freaking payloader right behind the truck. I'm like, oh man, I came all the way out here, so I ended up getting myself in a position where that crane was like right in the column of the truck, and you couldn't see it, and that's where I took the photo, and it ended up being great. I love the way it ended up. But when I first took the shot, I took it, and then I'm like, oh crap, there's like a big yellow thing back there. Because I didn't see it. When you go see stuff like this,
you're focused on the subject. Yeah, you're
damn right. Yeah, we see the truck and we're like, oh, I gotta take a picture of that. All you see in your head is that truck. You don't see anything around it.
Yeah.
I mean, the town could have been on fire. You see the truck. You're like, wow, it's a truck. And then you see it after you shoot it. So just be aware. It's okay to look in your camera. I like to look in my viewfinder to review. Like I have an electronic viewfinder, so I like to look in my viewfinder to review my photos. And the reason why I do that is because it closes out the rest of the world, and I'm not distracted when I'm looking at my photo to see if it's what I want or not. And if you put in the time and money to travel and do all this stuff, you should not walk away from a location and not be looking at your shots just because some idiot said, hey, you're chimping. I don't care what you think.
No.
Right?
Yeah, we should all be past that.
Right, exactly. And you can get a thing for the back of your camera that you can actually look at the LCD on the back of the camera, and it blocks everything out. It's like an eyepiece that goes on the back. I highly suggest those because it just allows you to kind of focus on what you just shot and the rest of the world. Because that's what the wonderful thing about shooting and going out and taking photos is when we look through that eyepiece, the whole world goes away, and we really have tunnel vision at that point in time. We're really focused. When you think about in your life, unless you're a surgeon or someone of that caliber, we don't do a lot of focusing. It's very hard to focus sometimes. And the one time I think a lot of us do it is when we do have our camera up there and we're looking through that. The world goes away. We have our world that we're creating right there. So yeah, just pay attention to that, Jose. It's great subject matter. It's beautiful colors. You always process your photos nicely. But keep that in mind. If the truck is the subject, let's not put the town in there. If we're going to include the town, we need to really include it and not just make it kind of like, yeah, there's a town back there.
Now, you mentioned getting down low. One of the things I do, I carry with me because as I get older and whatever, it's not as easy. I carry knee pads with me. I always have them in my truck. They're not even
in the gardening section.
Yeah, they're not even in my camera bag necessarily. They're in my truck, so they're always with me, and that helps with some of that getting up and down. Because you look around that truck, there's probably gravel and everything.
Right.
And as we get older, that gets a little more difficult. Hey, bring something with you that helps you get down like that.
Yeah, and he's got I want to mention too. A good angle for vehicles is this 45 off axis. So right out by the front fender, looking at the front, you're getting the front and the side of the vehicle. You're getting the character of the vehicle, which is usually the face of the vehicle. So that's always fun to do as well. Sometimes when you get images like this too, straight on shots and leveling the vehicle looks really cool as well. Shrinking it down to just the face of the vehicle, just the windshield, the hood, and the bumper of the vehicle as well is always fun. So there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. I just would have liked to seen him back up a little bit here and give us more of that town of what he kind of and Gary, I do that too. When I go out and shoot cars, I'll do like shots like this, and then I get up close and I love to get the patina with the logos. Some of the coolest art deco looks and stuff are these logos and hood pieces and all sorts of stuff. Although most old vehicles are out there, somebody stole the hood ornaments off. But yeah, he's right. The GMC logo is very unique and cool, and it would be cool to get just that kind of framed up in a nice symmetrical frame shot as well, with all that patina and stuff around it.
And Jose might got that because I look at this and there's tons, if not thousands of
Oh, yeah.
different shots you could take of just one vehicle.
Oh, yeah, the reflectors, the GMC 100 on there, I'm seeing inside the vehicle. I mean, you can get, a lot of times you can stick your camera. I've done like fisheyes inside the vehicle and stuff for different kinds of views. And you got to be careful because a lot of things hide in those vehicles. So
Snakes.
don't just jump in one. But
even
yeah,
worse, spiders.
Yeah, exactly. So especially in Nevada. But yeah, this is awesome, and I'd love to see if you have more of these shots of this truck. Feel free for the year end to submit them. We'd like to see them. So keep it up, man.
All right. Up next is this image. Yeah, thanks, Jose. Up next is this image from Millen. Our friend Millen. Here we go. And Millen says, "Autumn in the park. It's finally autumn." And I'll make it PG. It's finally autumn and a darn hot one. I just got to capture the beauty. The shot was taken in the main park of the city, Montana. It's not United States. This one should be easy for Mike to pronounce. He even says after that. Last year, took a similar image of the same spot. I got something covering that up. Same place, but this time I took from a little different. Took a little different. The image was processed first in Lightroom and then in Photoshop in order to remove a light pole on the right side and add some color and sharpness.
Yeah. So immediately, what kind of I got out of this image is kind of like. The paths we walk, because I can kind of see where they walked through there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like that the focus is right in your face, right up front. And then it's more about the trees and the leaves than it is the people in the image, but he shows that it was a park. Just a few things, Millen, that I probably would suggest here. I would probably move it away from the ultra wide look. I don't think that the image is something. It's a park scene, and it doesn't lend itself well to that epic cinematic look. And that would have probably cut out that partial tree on the left and the little trash can that's on the left. I kind of would have moved the crop in to alleviate those two things out of there. The other thing that you might want to do with an image like this is maybe use HSL in settings and pull your blues and pull the pinks back a little bit so that those colors in the clothing aren't so pronounced, because it's really more about the leaves and nature here. And the people should be kind of a forethought there. It's okay to see them in the image, but we don't want them to be like eye-catching. And right now, when I look at this image, I'm really drawn to the people in the image because of the bright colors. So if you kind of laid off those bright colors in that area alone just a little bit, I think your image would be stronger. But yeah, I like it. It's nice, sharp, and I love the bark. The bark looks amazing on those trees. So
I kind of remember his one from last year, but I can't tell you what the difference is.
Yeah.
It's
a good shot. Yep. Keep it up, Millen.
Yep.
We love you.
Thanks, Millen, for entering all the time. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, up next is this image, Scary Clowns, from Carlos. Carlos has submitted before.
Yep.
Annual zombie walk in New Jersey. I think this was one of the best costumes, lots of fun.
Yep. Mike, what
you're asking
landscape crop, right?
Yes,
definitely.
Yes, I don't like to chop it off middle leg, lower leg.
Right.
Or if you're going to do that, if you wanted to keep it, if you want to chop something off, I mean, you could go. I don't even need to see their legs.
No, I think navel up with the red balloons.
Yeah. Cut
off even the building. Because it's lopsided, the building's kind of like got different levels to it. I would see how the green glass panes are, right? I would have kind of straightened the photo. I would have cropped it right above that so that you didn't have sky. Get rid of the sky, get rid of the legs, and you've got your image, and get rid of that dude. in the blue.
Oh, in the back, yeah.
That photo bomber dude's got to go, or else he needs to pay for the photo. Either way, but that's the background stuff you got to watch for. And I think, with the polls and stuff in there, you got too much kind of extraneous stuff going on. We got a photo coming up next that's going to ask a question that'll play right into this, and I'm going to answer that question as well. Along with this one, I think it's a cool shot. I would love to do a zombie walk. I just have this time of year that this stuff goes on. I'm always doing something that keeps me busy. But yeah, I would go to the landscape crop here, Carlos, definitely, and just bring it down to the top of those, like that, the green and yellow on the building. You want to put the top of the crop there, and the bottom is going to be like right across the navel. Just cut the legs out. That's not really that interesting. I think it's the faces and the the looks on the faces and the clown that's really going to be your winner here. So always keep in mind your subject matter and try to eliminate everything else. Mike, go to the next one, and it ties in perfectly with this.
Yeah, this one, let me get from Wayne. Let me get his name up there. Wayne Brewer. And Wayne, he asked a question. So when he posted this, he was asking a question. I was experimenting with street photography when these two characters stopped and posed. What advice and tips would you give for achieving a good composition in a similar situation when you only have a few seconds to frame and shoot?
Watch videos by John Free.
John Free.
If you want to be a street photographer, that dude will straighten you out in a heartbeat. He is brutal, but entertaining and fair, and an amazing street photographer. Joy to watch him work. This photo, honestly, a little post-processing and you're done. And I know, I'm going to tell you right now, I know you want to get it right in camera. I know you do. But you got to learn to post-process first, so that your mind gets used to seeing the image and what's wrong with the image that you take and how you can correct that. After a while, you're going to start doing less and less post-processing. Now, this isn't just for, and Mike will attest to this, it's not just street photography where this is a reality. In any photography that you do, you're going to start out processing the photos a lot. Mm-hmm. To try to, because you're like, I want to make this right. It's usable. I can make this work. And after a while, you're going to start coming home with images that take less and less processing. It's just because you're learning as you go. So I think just, Wayne, if I had one piece of advice, is just keep doing it. Keep going. Don't be afraid to post-process. It's part of, film had to be developed. And if you think film was just developed and rolled off and there wasn't any retouching done, you're living in a fantasy world.
Yeah, I think both sides.
That's as fun as I can be.
Both sides feed off of each other. You get home and you got to do all the editing, and you go, "Hey, why did I just?" You learn what you wish you'd have done when you're in the field, and the more you do it in the field, the less you got to do on the back end. So they feed each other. So what were you going to say he should have done here in post processing? I just would straighten
the verticals in this. Straighten up the verticals. The moment is beautiful. I love the Hello Kitty dress these guys have got going on. The flawless is amazing. And then the sign, All Saints behind is perfect. That's epic. And yeah, his feet are a little bit out of the frame, a little bit. If anything, maybe back up a little bit and then crop it afterwards until you start getting a feel for the lens that you're going to be. When you go out shooting this kind of stuff, you're really going to dial into a go-to lens, a lens that you like, a 40 millimeter or a 50 millimeter. I would suggest staying more in the 35 to 40 millimeter range if you're going to do street photography. Those are nice lenses that work really well. You don't have to get too far back. You don't have to get too close. But you can get close if you need to, if you're just doing a headshot or something up front. But they're a very comfortable distance lens. It's a lens that when you use 35 to 40 millimeter, people don't feel so imposed. Mm-hmm. Like if you come up and you bring a big wide lens and you stick it in their face, People aren't going to enjoy that.
Right.
If you have a big lens like a 7200, they're not going to enjoy that either, because they're going to be intimidated by that. But a nice film, like a film lens, a 35 millimeter lens, which is fairly like a pancake lens, is fairly small. It's an unintimidating setup that people feel more comfortable with, and so that's going to help you a little bit in communication. Obviously, you asked to take the photo, or maybe they saw you taking the photo and they just obliged to that. It looks like they enjoy.
Yeah, they pose for them. Yeah.
So I think my only criticism here is straighten it up, and I probably would have pulled back just enough to get the All Saints sign in there and get all of the feet in there. Leave yourself some space all the way around. But
for Wayne, when you say straighten it up, are you seeing the straightness issue with that door frame or whatever that frame is in the right side?
So what happens is when we have a little bit wider of a lens, when we point it down, it tends to make things parallelogram. When we point it up, they tend to look like this. And so this is a silly look. Think Dr. Seuss. Yeah. And this is an intimidating look. Think the Tower of Power. And so when we take pictures of buildings and we look up at them, they have a very powerful feeling to them. So we use that a lot in brutal architecture shots because we want the building to be intimidating. But with people, we like to not do that so much. It can make body shapes look strange. It can change the shape of your face, all that sort of things. And the 20 millimeter Gary suggests for street, it's okay, but 20 millimeter can distort the body in ways that sometimes is not good, that I don't personally like. Hey, this is what I say. You're going to find a lens that works for you. I prefer 35, 40, 50 millimeter. Usually I take, if I can, like I have a 42 millimeter old film lens that I love to take out and use. I'm just comfortable with it, the distance, right? So you've got to find what's comfortable for you.
Yep.
So.
All right. Well, thank you, Wayne, and thanks for the question. Always feel and always feel free to ask questions like that.
That's right.
Because that really is helpful for not just you, but for other people too.
Right.
All right. Last one up is this one from Norman Schultz. There we go. Norman. And Norman says, climbed a hill for a fall color pick, and when I turned around, I liked this shot, this site better. Yep. Had to shoot as little of the gray, ugly sky as possible. And that sky is gray and ugly.
I like the contrast here. I think that if you have a gray and ugly sky, go with high key and just make it white. Because it's less distracting that way. I think it makes you think there's sun or something bright back there that's making it look that way. That's fine. The trees are a little soft. I like that. His subject is the moss on the fence posts here. And this is where I ask Norman. I know you watch the show. I know you do. The story behind the shot, unfortunately, I'm going to be brutal with you, does not matter to anyone. I write stories all the time, and people just, all they see is they want to go take the shot themselves. They don't really care about my story about the shot. It doesn't make my shots any better. And you shouldn't explain your photos. You should be happy with your photos the way you take them. And if you're trying to get to that point, and what we're trying to help you do is tell me why you took the photo. It wasn't because you climbed a hill. It wasn't because you turned around. What did you like about this photo? I don't know. You didn't take this photo because there was a dull sky. I know you didn't. You had a reason why you took this photo exactly the way you did. That's what I need to hear from you guys. And tell me why. Don't be afraid. You got to let that hang out. If you're going to bring it to me, you got to let that hang out and be honest so that I can help you go forward. I might look at it and be like, dude, you nailed it. That's exactly what I would have done if that's what I was going for. Mm-hmm. That's how we're going to talk about this. We're not going to be like, oh, I don't know what you were thinking. I mean, that's not helping anybody. So I don't know what Norman was going for here.
He's out, and it's not. He was earlier in Facebook chat, so maybe he can help us.
It's tough to get it live. It's good to have it written down so I can read it and absorb it a little bit when I'm looking at this stuff. I like this photo a lot. I like the high keyness of it. I like bright autumn photos. That one photo that we had back from beginners there that didn't have an explanation. I like that photo too. I like those bold colors. What strikes you about autumn is the color, right? And it's unreal sometimes, and sometimes it's very hard to capture without getting too much. I think he did a nice balance on the trees in the background. The oranges are not like blown out orange. Sometimes you can just get a solid color. They have a lot of depth to them. I like that. I like the little bit of orange in the grass up front. And the post is gorgeous.
Especially the one in the background that forms an M. That forms an M for Mike.
Right. There you go. Perfect, Mike.
That just tops it all off.
I think that's why he did this. Is just
because that's why I would
like it. Michael like it. It's got an M in it.
It's got an M in it.
I think it's a beautiful image. I love the lichen all over the post. I think that's cool. But without hearing from Norman exactly what he kind of was going for, it's tough to give a critique. He's got the post in the thirds. If that's his subject, it's right where it should be. Would this photo work better as a portrait? Again, play with the crops, see what it speaks to you, what has more power. Yeah. And then in the end, that's what counts. If you're happy with it, put it out there. And if you're putting out in the public, you can name it. You don't have to name it. You can write a little story about it. You can do whatever you want. But if you're doing it to a critique, I need less story and more like why you press that button. So, and I want just another little thing on this, because I know are we on our last one?
That was it.
So just another thing on this, guys, always do a 360. Always do a 360 with your camera. Whenever you go someplace and you see something that you want to shoot and you pick the location, always do a 360, do a 180, whatever, walk 100 yards the other way. We used to go out with this guy, Steve Walzer's a good friend of mine, and he every time he'd go out with a group, I would take the group. I'd be teaching them stuff and talking about stuff. Steve would be nowhere to be found. I'd be like, Steve, why do you come on these photo walks if you just go off on yourself? He goes, oh, I'm just looking for something different. And he would always come back with the coolest photos by going the opposite way from everybody else. Yeah. And he goes, don't worry, I saw what you guys were doing, and I looked at that stuff too, but I always like to go in the opposite direction of everybody else just to see what I can find. And he goes, sometimes I don't find anything, but sometimes I find stuff that no one else does. And so always when you're out there, do a 180 and walk 100 yards the other way, except for unless it's a cliff or you're at the Grand Canyon, don't do it there.
Speaking of that, next month when we do the November ones, there's a photo by Millen that I think I would have passed it up. The vast majority of photographers would have passed it up. He found beauty in what most of us would have just looked past. And I think, hats off to Millen. You probably hadn't seen it yet, AD, but I think he did a great job with it. But cool. That's for November. That'll be coming up next month. Next show, not next month. We'll have to talk about later when we do that show. And we'll do all of November in one show too, just like we did tonight. So thanks everybody for submitting. Again, another round of awesome images. And
wow.
Yeah. Looking forward to doing the next show. But before we head out, let's talk about how to get this show. We talked about how to enter the contest earlier, how to get the show. You can do it live like you're doing now on Facebook or on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube. We put out the edited version on iTunes, video large and small, on YouTube and Vimeo. All video for right now. We don't do any audio because I think you really got to see all this to do that.
For sure.
And then head on over to AD's website, theexplorographer.com. Over there, you can go to Who is AD? So if you want some feedback from AD, you want to contact him and learn more about some of the things he mentioned tonight, go over to Who is AD on his website, theexplorographer.com, and he'll have his contact form underneath down here where you can just go down there and fill out the contact form and reach him there. And while you're at his site, move around a little bit. He talked about some stories with his photos. He has, I know you're not being able to see what I'm looking at right now, but you went to the asylum in West Virginia,
yes,
the lunatic asylum up there, and you have some gorgeous photos of abandoned property and also some great story that goes along with it. Check that out and go over and check out his store. too. I'm going to pull that up. Photo Tools store, where you have Lightroom plugins and Photoshop actions and all kind of stuff over there. Some Luminar and some Aurora stuff too. Wow.
Yeah, and if you look on my sidebars of most of my stories, you'll see like ads for companies like Luminar and ads for Topaz and all that kind of stuff. Most of those you can get some money off using my codes there. And I do get a kickback, but Mike will tell you, I use all of the software myself. I don't talk about anything or put anything on my website that I don't personally use myself. And they basically give me like 35 cents if someone clicks on a link from my page. It's not a whole lot, but it does let that company know that I'm supporting them and their product. So I have some big news for the next show that we're probably maybe not going to be doing in December. I don't know yet. I got to talk it over with Mike. But I hope to have a version of Luminar with the new library function fully working. I have a copy, but it is not working. We don't know why yet. I'm working with the developers to find out why it won't install. I should have an answer this week. But I would invite you guys to we'll stick it in the post show or something. Like not tonight, but I mean when I get a copy of it and demonstrate what I think is going to be a Lightroom killer for a lot of folks that don't want the subscription thing anymore, and they really want to. I played with it before it blew up and exploded. It was really awesome. But
very good.
I did give my whole entire library to it at once, and it kind of went, "Oh my God, I can't take it." So.
Well, there's always growing pains, but so Luminar, that you're talking about, Luminar adding a digital asset management system, which they've talked about before too. And as they add that, and you want some further training and stuff like that, that's a great topic to ask AD if you're a patron of his over on thecreators.com on Patreon. If you're a patron of his, to say, "Hey, AD, I bought Luminar. I have the digital asset management. I'd like for you to do a video on that and do a walkthrough." So if you're a supporter of his over there, that's something he's always looking for ideas on what would you like to see.
Yeah, completely customized videos for your learning. So you come to me and say, "I'd like to learn Adobe Premiere. Can you help me get started?" I will help you with Adobe Premiere. I'm pretty versed in most Adobe products, with the exception of I think Character Creator. I'm still trying to learn how to use, but most of the stuff, After Effects, all that kind of stuff, Photoshop, Lightroom, I can do tutorial videos on all of that kind of stuff. And if I can't do it, I will most certainly point you to a good place where you can get a video or get help or training with it as well. And Luminar, I'll tell you, I know some folks don't have Photoshop, some people don't have Lightroom, but they still are really diving into photography quite deep. In my personal opinion, for $59, Luminar standalone, and it's coming with the library, which you will get for that $59, is by far, I could get along with just that tool alone, even without the library function, if all I had was Luminar. And I will tell you, Mike, right now, every shot that I did for the last two stories in my blog there, so if you guys go look at the last two stories, they were only processed in Luminar. I didn't use anything else. So I just find the program very intuitive and very easy to use. And now, as I'm moving farther and farther down the road, I'm doing less processing. But this program makes it super easy. It's got artificial intelligence built in for color and toning, and and now they have the new Sky plugin. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's artificial intelligence. Instead of just dehazing the sky to make it look better, it actually uses AI to mask and make the sky bring out the clouds the way they're supposed to. Now, it doesn't lay in anything fake. It just separates the blues and everything and makes the skies look more dramatic or less dramatic if you want that. So I think for an all-around standalone program that you only have to buy once if you want to, and the amount of support that company gives they're a small company and they give huge support to people. They really are a family business. I can't recommend anybody else. And I am not working for them anymore.
Right.
I'm off on my own. So and even with that said, I would still highly recommend them as my number one photo editing software out there right now. So.
Yep. And I own it too. I bought the Aurora HDR software from them also. I still mainly use Lightroom.
Yep.
That's my thing. But I like testing those guys out. And lots of people don't like the subscription model.
Yep.
And if you don't, Luminar is a great alternative, and so it's On One. I saw that on your website too.
Absolutely. Yep.
On One is a little more expensive, but it's still not that expensive. It's like $99, where I think on, like you said, Luminar is $59 or something. So two great alternatives if you're looking for something where you can buy it once and maybe buy future upgrades, but you don't have to pay that monthly subscription.
Right. And Topaz Studio has come a long ways as well, but you're into a lot more money with Topaz Studio. Mm-hmm. It's, their base price is low, but then you buy modules. And some people may like that. Some people may like, I only need one or two things, and that's fine too. But I think bang for the buck right now, for me at least, Luminar has been the best bang for the buck. And I have to say, Aurora 2019, the newest version of Aurora, has blown my mind with how good the new Aurora is. Yeah, Aurora 2018 is nowhere even in the same class as 2019. The new version of Aurora has got a new processing engine. It makes very clean, non-HDR looking images, but with all the data in there so you can get all the range that you need of light. They have done some really good work. They still have work to do, and I'm working with them on that and telling them, I'd like to see this and a little bit more of this and a little less of that. But they're sincerely putting the work in. And I used Aurora too on all of the photos that I did HDR, which was not a lot of them, but where I did use it, like on the Trans-Allegheny shots, which were a huge dynamic range of like 15 frames shot across 15 stops of light, 15 different stops. I used Aurora and it processed like a champ, and the stuff came out super clean, no halos, none of that weird like looks that that they look synthetic. Mm-hmm. It is really nice.
But 2019 is not out yet, right? Or is it?
I think it is now.
I can't open it right now. We're doing a show. It'll mess everything up. Yeah, I think I'm up to date on it.
Yeah, and we can next show, if I don't have Luminar, we can show off a little bit of that. I'm open. I don't have an NDA on that stuff, so I can talk about it. So yeah, I'm hoping to get both of them. So maybe we can just do a couple of quick demonstrations at the end of the show for the post folks who stick around.
Yeah. Thinking of post show, we're going to head to that now. So thanks everybody for coming out this week. Yes. And if we don't see you before Christmas, have a happy Christmas and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And stay safe and have a good year. We'll see you next time. Keep shooting. Good night, everybody.
Good night.